They don't do anything about it, right? Kelly knows, he knows. They do. And it all dies, you know, they die. The radical lunatic Democrats, they impeach me, they indict me, they rig our elections. And the Republicans just don't fight the way they're good people, but they don't fight the way they're supposed to fight. The others are dirty, sick players, and the Republicans are very high class. They've got to be a little bit lower class, I suspect. They sit back and they say, they have other priorities. We have to look at other things. Any Republican that doesn't act on Democrat fraud should be immediately primaried and get out. Out. And we have some. You know, you show them the fact, 10 million here, 10 million there. Game. These people are corrupt as hell, and they play a different game. They play a much tougher game of hardball, and the Republicans have to play like these two guys and these three people, actually, four people that we have. They have to play tough. And they have to be, and honestly, and if they're not willing to do it, we got a lot of good, tough Republicans around that people are going to run against them, and people are going to win, and they're going to get my endorsement every single time, and they're going to win because we win almost every race when we endorse. When we win the election, a little more than a year from now, I will appoint a real special prosecutor to expose the monumental corruption of the Biden crime family once and for all. And unlike the witch hunt that I've been going through ever since we came down that beautiful escalator in Trump Tower, they will be properly prosecuted. I promise you that. They will be looked at. Everything will be very fair, of course. But if they're guilty, I happen to think they must be. Boy, it's a lot of money taken in for people. Took in millions and millions, and then they say they're not. No, they have to be. We have to bring our nation back. We have to bring our borders back. We have to bring our fair elections back. We have to do it right. And they've broken the veil by indicting me with this ridiculous. These are ridiculous indictments. And all they're doing is hoping for massive election interference. That's all they want to do. They want to damage the leading candidate, by the way, leading by far, I have to say. I think if he ever made a comeback, it would be the greatest comeback in political history. He's gone. I endorsed him. He was gone before I endorsed him. I endorsed him. You know that, right? I endorsed him. I said, all right. He came in crying, please, please, you'll do it. I said, you couldn't get, you're so far behind, you couldn't win. If George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead, you couldn't win. No, no. Sir, if you endorse me, I'll win. I'll win. So, you know, he worked on the impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2, two of the many hoaxes that I had to go through. But he was just one of many, many guys. These guys worked much harder. Kelly, Muser, they worked much, much harder. Much harder. You guys worked much harder. But he did a little bit that I didn't know the man he was running against. His name's Adam Putnam, good man. Although I heard he was a rhino, so I feel a little bit better, but actually. But I didn't know him, so I said, let's give it a shot, Ron. And he's down so much, like 30, 40 points. In one night, he is leading by a lot. Then we had him get past a guy named Pullum, who was at the time the hottest guy in the Democrat Party. Stacey Abrams being the female version. Stacey Abrams and Pullum. These were the two hottest politicians in the Democrat. Then 3 years later, they say, will you run against the president? Will you run against the president? He says, I have no comment. I said, that means he's running. This son of a bitch is running against me. I got him elected. He's running. So I tell that story, even though all of my wonderful geniuses that we do have a good game. See, I think they do. I think a story like that means something to people, but they say I'm wrong. But so far, the polls have proven, because he has taken a dive like few people have seen before. You know, it's funny, all of his big donors, he had a lot of big donors, and they were all maybe sort of, they don't love me because I'm very much anti-business with China. You know what? I'm a person that puts America first. These people want to put the globe first, right? So they don't love it. But I read stories where, you know, these big rich guys are all guys that I know very well, and they're sort of leaning toward him, and they're going with him, and, you know, this is like 6 months ago. They're going to go with him. I think they're going to go with him because he's a globalist, basically, right? He's a Paul Ryan disciple. Anybody a Paul Ryan disciple, you don't want him, believe me. Guy's a loser. But look, he had to leave because he couldn't have won. He was out. But remember this, when they say, when the people, they're all with him. They're all set. They're going with him. We're going with the sanctimonious. And then last week I started getting phone calls 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Hi, President. I just called to say hello. What are the big donors? Oh, I thought you were with DeSantis. No, weren't you with DeSantis? Sometimes referred to as the sanctimonious, never referred to as DeSantis, never. Of course, he did change his name in the middle of the campaign. You know that, right? Are we having fun? What the hell? Right? It's a Saturday afternoon. We have nothing to do. We got these great congressmen that we got to make sure they're in good shape, and they will be. They actually don't need any of my help. They're here because they love me and I love them. They don't need my help, these guys. But, you know, so they call up these rich guys. They call, I'm richer than they are. But they call up and they say, and I'll put as much money into the campaign as I need. Believe me, if we need to do it, we need to do it. But, you know, the money that comes in is the small money. It comes in for us. No Republicans ever had that. Millions of dollars of small money. We're $31. I think it's a $31 to $61 average. And that means people love us. And by the way, those people vote. The rich guys are in the south of France on their yacht. They don't vote, you know. They just give money for obvious reasons. But now I'm getting calls from guys that I read about from 6 months ago. I didn't care. It didn't matter to me. But they were going with him. We're going with you. We think we do, you know, change. They want to change. No, we want to go back to what we had for 4 years. We had something that was so special. One of these guys, Coke. You ever hear of Coke? So Coke, he says, a couple of months ago, said, I had the best 4 years I've ever had during the Trump administration. Yeah, I believe I'll be supporting DeSantis. I said, what the hell is that all about? The guy admits, maybe that's called inheritance. The guy admits he's had the best 4 years he's ever had. He's got his support. But so now they're all calling me, and they go like this. Ring, ring, so-and-so's on the phone. Oh, hello. President, I was just calling to say hello. I said, you mean you're just calling to say that you've been looking at the recent poll numbers? That's true. They're not stupid. They see what's happening. So he's lost all of it. I think he's lost every high roller. And they said, what's his problem? I said, he's got no personality. I could have told you that a long time ago. A politician needs a little personality, but I think he's over. And, you know, we just got some polls. We're going to go over the polls in a couple of seconds. Remember when I used to do the polls? Remember? But I only did them when we were doing well. When we were doing poorly, I never talked about polls. I said, what polls? But for the most part, we were always doing pretty well. But I only did, but we have one where Ramaswamy is now leading him in Ohio. Ramaswamy. You know why he's leading them? Because he says Trump's been a great president. I like guys that I'm running against that say I've been a great president. Vote Ramaswamy. So it's been an incredible time, but all of these high rollers are now calling me, sir, I'd love to have dinner with you. I said, you didn't want to have dinner 6, 7 months ago so much, right? But you know you're doing well when all of those guys are calling, and they're not giving him very much. I don't think they're giving him anything. They're giving him a lot of nice talk. Hey, Ron, keep working. You're doing wonderfully. No, last night he had a very bad reception, very, very bad, in a state called